Thus ends our reading of the second part of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And for those of you who are feeling deep anxiety, there's another one that begins with chapter 12 and the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. In his Amrita Prabha Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura summarizes this chapter as follows. The king of Orissa, Maharaj Prataparudra, tried his best to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees informed the Lord about the king's desire, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not agree to see him. At that time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu devised a plan, and he sent a piece of the Lord's outward garment to the king. The next day, when Ramananda Roy again entreated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the king, the Lord, denying their request, asked Ramananda Roy to bring the king's son before him. The prince visited the Lord dressed like a Vaishnava, and this awakened remembrance of Krishna. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the son of Maharaj Prataparudra. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the Gundicha temple before the Rath Yatra took place. He then took his bath at Indradumna lake and partook of prasadam in the garden nearby. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the temple of Gundicha, a Gaudiya Vaishnava washed the lotus feet of the Lord and drank the water. This incident is very significant, for it awoke within the devotee ecstatic love. Then the son of Advaita Prabhu, named Gopal, fainted during kirtan, and when he did not come to his senses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu favored him by awakening him. There was also some humorous talk between Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu during prasadam. Advaita Prabhu said that Nityananda Prabhu was unknown to anyone, and that it was not the duty of a householder, brahmana, to accept dinner with a person unknown in society. In answer to this humorous statement, Sri Nityananda Prabhu replied that Advaita Acharya was a monist, and that one could not know how his mind could be turned by eating with such an impersonalist. The conversation of these two Prabhus, Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu, carried a deep meaning that only an intelligent man can understand. After all the Vaishnavas finished their luncheon, Swarup Damodar and the others took their prasadam within the room. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took great pleasure when he saw the Jagannath deity after the period of the deity's retirement. At that time, Lord Chaitanya was accompanied by all the devotees, and all of them were very pleased. Now we'll take a few reflections or questions. Nitya Tarangani. Oh, 1 second, Nitya Tarangani. Maharaj has a point.
Yeah, it was interesting for me that Srila Prabhupada quotes extensively from Vaishnava Ke in the previous chapter.
From what?
Vaishnava Ke, from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's poem. So it's a very important poem for us.
When I was in Chicago circa 1975, Prabhupada gave a Babaji initiation to a devotee named Udalmi. Udalmi was supposedly fatally ill. And along with that, it was a huge initiation that year. Many Radha Damodar buses were there. Many deities were installed. Hundreds of devotees took initiation, and also Udalmi took Babaji. Prabhupada just told him to stay in one room and chant, and people would bring him prasadam. He shouldn't go anywhere. But then later he found out he had been misdiagnosed and he wasn't going to die, so he gave up his... And it just reminded me, I mean, I hate to laugh about it, it's not that funny, but the fact is that Prabhupada mentions here, it gives a warning, don't prematurely try to do this. You should become mature. Dedicate your life preaching. And then if you have some qualification, you can sit down. Nitya Tarangani, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I want to report that we have 38 devotees watching online.
Hare Hare!
And there is a question from Apara Gaurangi Mataji. Guru Maharaj talked about most difficult anartha to get over, to get fame or acumen in service. How can one get over it?
Well, one way is to realize how fickle fame is. People who are famous end up infamous the next day, especially nowadays. Prabhupada writes about it in one of his purports. He says, people can become famous or infamous just by getting in the paper, and that was before internet. Because the paper might not be as widespread, but the internet is ubiquitous. And if you realize how fickle people are about appreciating somebody because of their qualities, maybe they don't even know what the qualities are. Oftentimes people are praising somebody and they have no idea what their character is. So fame is shallow, and it's also fickle. And you can also study the lives of people who became very famous. For instance, look at the Beatles. They were just young when they became famous. And all of them talk about the very oppressive lifestyle they lived. Everywhere they went, people followed them. They wanted a piece of them. One of them was shot dead by a so-called fan. And so this is something that is in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. Narada tells Vasudeva a few points about how to overcome various anarthas by studying them. For instance, he says to overcome the desire to be wealthy, you should study how difficult it is to maintain wealth. As soon as you get money, you're in anxiety because then you're thinking somebody's going to take it, either the government or one of your 52 cousins, or somebody's going to come and say, Shnicky needs an operation, you're the only one in the family has money, you better give it. Or just, the government will take it. So those are ways that recommended in the Bhagavatam. Look at it carefully. Don't just take it for granted that fame is a great thing. And we heard about it earlier with Madhavendra Puri. He avoided it as soon as he realized that people were going to appreciate him because the Lord stole the sweet rice for him. He left because he didn't want to be disturbed by it, by throngs of apparently well-meaning people, but who really are not that deeply attached to him. They just want to get a glimpse of somebody who's famous. Anything else? Yes, Sudhira.
Hare Krishna. Oh, me? No.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Maharaj, I just found it interesting that at the very beginning of today's reading, it was said that the two brothers, Shankara and Damodar, and to one, the younger one, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed love, and the other one, awe and reverence. And it startled me a bit because usually we think, as devotees, we hope to develop love, but some have that relationship of awe and reverence with God. But for God to have a relationship in awe and reverence with a devotee, I found that it just took my attention.
Yeah, that is very interesting. The nuances of the relationships goes both ways. Okay, Sudhira? And then we're coming back outside. Here, Sudhira, Lokaram, and then outside.
I liked a few statements about the master and the servant in the verses and purports. It said transformation takes place due to transcendental qualities. And it is thus said that the servant of the Lord is the heart of the Lord, and the Lord is the heart of the servant. Then later it said, thus it is by misuse of free will that one falls under the influence of Maya.
Thank you very much. Lokaram?
Hare Krishna. This is from yesterday. We had the question about the 3 ways that the Lord gives mercy.
You did your homework?
I did my homework.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, yeah.
Go for it.
So basically, Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura just takes each one of the lines. There's 4 lines in the verse, and so each one of the lines he's saying is like a stage of mercy that the Lord is giving to the devotees. So the first is, he's comparing it to anartha nivritti, the purification of the heart, and then manifestation of the bliss of bhakti. Then next comes clarity or revelation on all the conclusions of bhakti siddhanta, that you understand all of the different points of the philosophy, and then then the Lord bestows the madness of divine love. And then the last is that being immersed in divine love, you become fully absorbed in devotion, and then you see how the Lord's pastimes are manifest everywhere.
Wow, thank you very much. There was a section in the purport where Prabhupada just mentioned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had said, can you give the context? He said,
yeah, basically he's frequently giving like a translation or summary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's purports to the verses, and so in Prabhupada's purport to this particular verse, he just said at the beginning that Lord Chaitanya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Lord Chaitanya gives his mercy in 3 ways.
but he didn't elaborate.
But he didn't specify exactly 1, 2, 3. So,
thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Well done. Okay, there was 2 more outside. Yes, Achinta Chaitanya Prabhu. Or whoever has the mic.
Hare Krishna, it's Nanda. I was struck in the beginning of the previous chapter how Lord Chaitanya had such endearing, intimate relationships with all the devotees, and he appreciated their qualities. And even in the story of Gopakumar, when he finally meets Krishna, he realizes how much Krishna loves him, and then he faints. And yet, even after hearing so many stories like that of the Lord's loving relationship with his devotees, still we doubt, or I doubt, that Krishna loves me, that he only loves Prahlad Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami and the great, great souls, but he loves every single living entity in some unique way. And that's so what we're all hankering for, and at the same time doubting that it's applies to me.
It's such an important point, Nanda. Thank you very much. Related to Krishna's point in the Bhagavad Gita where he says, Vita raga bhaya kroda manmaya mamupashrita bhavo jnana tapasa putamad bhavamagata. Would you see one of those categories, like raga bhaya kroda, sort of the fear factor that Prabhupada mentions, fear of personhood, has a lot to do with mistrust of God. A lot of the questions that come up about how did I get here in the first place? I couldn't have fallen down. I can't remember that. Or any of those types of conundrums have a lot to do with what you're talking about. We haven't been loved properly in this world. It's impossible, because even in the best of circumstances, it's interrupted. And that's quite disturbing. It's the subject matter of poetry, literature, what to speak of the underlying fear that everyone has, that whatever I have now in the way of relationships, I'm going to lose. And then when we think of perfection in the spiritual world, we think, well, it must be devoid of any relationship. And then to parlay our understanding into a personal God, then we might think, as you were saying so aptly, that, oh, he must love Prahlad Maharaj or others, but how could he possibly love me? And regarding your mention of Gopakumar going back to Godhead, unfailingly, whenever we've read that in a group setting, in fact, I remember Keshav Bharti Maharaj was staying at our house, he was working on the manuscript at that time. And we had a bunch of people over so he could read it out loud, and as he was reading it, I was not looking up, but I still started feeling a little emotion reading it, and I looked up just to see what was going on, and I saw everyone around, there was tears. And it's happened several times in various settings, in that exact place that you're mentioning, where Gopal Kumar says, I was cultivating my love for the Lord, but I never imagined that he actually loved me. And I think you hit a nerve there, because that's such a vital aspect to know that, and to overcome the fear that actually God doesn't like me. He's actually he's a despot punishing me for no good reason, which is the pervasive feeling that people have. Even devotees have that. They still feel that he doesn't care for me. I'm the outlier. I'm the one I'm not being taken care of properly. Chinta Chaitanya Prabhu, go ahead.
There's something interesting which happened this morning. I was going on parikrama with Madhav, and since this topic came up about Vaishnava K being referred in this section, Vaishnava K by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura, there is a whole commentary on it by His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj. And one of the most important themes of this book is Nirjan Bhajan, and how Nirjan Bhajan is actually a shield for puja, pratishtha and labha, and name, fame, adoration. So coming back to this morning's parikrama, on one section I encountered a sadhu who was carrying an audio device, and probably he was listening to his guru or something. And the one word which I heard very loudly was Shukera Vishta, that's like the stool of a hog, it rattled me. And then it said, okay, then it was in Bengali and he could understand it. So I said, okay, name, fame, prestige, this is stool of a hog, And then I was thinking, oh, what a wonderful thing to hear. And then I just heard Apura Gaurangi's question that how do we avoid this desire? Personally, what I think is that when I look at the people in this world, I look at the fact that they're all after name, fame, prestige, and they're all after the stool of a hog. So what is the use of trying to become famous among all these kind of people who are after the stool of a hog? So, Ramananda Roy says that the most famous person is that one who is a devotee of the Lord. So better to become a devotee of the Lord rather than try to become famous amongst a society of people who are aiming for the stool of a hog. In fact, Jayapataka Maharaj mentions it humorously that the hog eats stool, First of all, the hog eats stool. So can you imagine what the stool of an entity which eats stool could be like, So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura has really hit the nail on the head. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's amazing too, just how on parikram you can pick up phrases or images that stick in your mind and become emblematic of some really important point. It's a gift by Giriraj. Mahendra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Raghunath Das Goswami in Manakshi also gives graphic examples of pratishtha and kapata, desire for fame, prestige, and following hypocrisy and cheating, like donkey's urine, which is burning, and the illicit lover and the prostitute who is offering a cooked dog. Really. But he says that these two are what you said in the beginning, that Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura said it's very difficult to overcome the anarthas. He said is one of the reasons the others are all very obvious, like kama, krodha, lobha, etc. But these ones you can't really see yourself, or they're much more subtle, much more difficult. He says the only way to overcome is by taking full share at the generals of Lord Chaitanya.
The generals of Lord Chaitanya.
The generals of the army of Lord Chaitanya. Then they can help you mercifully.
Thank you very much. May we read a couple more verses and wait for the bell, or are you eager to get it? That was next door. We maybe file a restraining order that they can't use the same kind of bell we have. Oh, somebody wants to check. I don't think it was our bell. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, just this point on Pratishta. There's another...
Keep that mic really close, yeah.
On the point of Pratishta...
One second. Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for coming. Happy Parikram. Thank you for visiting. You made our day.
I thought it was a recording, and I was so happy to see that it's really in real.
Thank you. Thank you for blessing our assembly. Gaur Premanande, Hariva, Hare Krishna. Wasn't our bell. Okay. There was only tumbleweeds flowing through the hallway there.
On the point of fame, there's another
The point
side.
on what fame? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
The devotees, they, especially we hear Prabhupada disciples, they don't want fame, and fame comes because they're doing such amazing service for the Lord, and in those cases, sometimes they have difficulty. A few years ago in Australasia, there was a sannyasi who used to visit, and he fell down, and many devotees were very disturbed. And my spiritual master, B. Krishna Goswami, at a home program, he was mentioning that we shouldn't judge or criticize them because they did amazing service for Prabhupada. And you've also mentioned it a few times, I've heard on online, that because they were very young and they took sannyas. But the point he was raising was that they in a position of so much honor and prestige that they are kind of cornered and they can't reveal their difficulties. So he said it's very important for every devotee to have at least one devotee they can confide in, and they don't necessarily need to publicize their difficulty, but work through it in private, so it doesn't also disturb the wider Vaishnava community, and they also get the help that they need during the difficulty.
Yeah, such a nice point from Bir Krishna Maharaj. And if somebody's famous, they may not want to disappoint anybody by letting them know that they're not as great as people think they are, and then from that they may be overcome by their anarthas. So it is very important to have Guya Makiti Prichati, those that one can confide in. Thank you for such a salient point. I'm going to read a few more verses. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the Gundicha temple with his devotees and associates. In this way he made it as cool and bright as his own heart. And thus he made the temple a befitting place for Lord Sri Krishna to sit. All glories to Gaurachandra. All glories to Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu headed by Srivas Thakur. I beg their power so that I can properly describe Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned from his South Indian tour, Maharaj Prataparudra, the king of Orissa, became very anxious to meet him. The king sent a letter from his capital, Cuttack, to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, entreating him to obtain the Lord's permission so that he could go and see him. Replying to the Lord's letter, the Bhattacharya wrote that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not given his permission. After this, the king wrote him another letter. In this letter, the king requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya please appeal to all the devotees associated with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and submit this petition to them on my behalf. If all the devotees associated with the Lord are favorably disposed toward me, they can submit my petition at the lotus feet of the Lord. By the mercy of all the devotees, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Without his mercy, my kingdom does not appeal to me. If Gaurahari, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will not show mercy to me, I shall give up my kingdom, become a mendicant, and beg from door to door. When the Bhattacharya received this letter, he became a little anxious. He then took the letter and went to the devotees of the Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met with all the devotees and described the king's wishes. Then he presented the letter to all of them for inspection. Upon reading the letter, everyone was astonished to see that King Prataparudra had so much devotion for the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The devotees gave their opinion and said, "The Lord will never meet the king, and if we requested him to do so, the Lord would surely feel very unhappy." Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then said, "We shall go once again to the Lord, but we shall not request him to meet the king. Rather, we shall simply describe the good behavior of the king." Having thus reached a decision, they all went to the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There, although ready to speak, they could not even utter a word. After they arrived at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place, the Lord, seeing them, said, "What have you all come here to say? I see that you want to say something, but you do not speak. What is the reason?" Nityananda Prabhu then said, "We want to tell you something, although we cannot stay without speaking, we are still very much afraid to speak. We want to submit before you something that may or may not be befitting. The matter is this: unless he sees you, the king of Orissa will become a mendicant." Nityananda Prabhu continued, "The king has decided to become a mendicant and accept the sign of a mendicant by wearing an ivory earring. He does not want to enjoy his kingdom without seeing the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." In India, there is still a class of professional mendicants who are very much like the gypsies of Western countries. They know some magical art and mystical processes, and their business is to beg from door to door, sometimes pleading and sometimes threatening. Such mendicants are sometimes called yogis and sometimes kanapata yogis. The word kanapata refers to one who has put a hole in his ear to wear an earring made of ivory. Maharaj Prataparudra was so depressed by not getting to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he decided to become such a yogi. Ordinary men might think that a yogi must have an ivory earring in his ear, but this is not the sign of a real yogi. Maharaj Prataparudra also thought that to become a mendicant, one must wear such an earring. Nityananda Prabhu continued, "The king also expressed his desire to see the moon-like face of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his eyes, full satisfaction. He would like to raise the lotus feet of the Lord to his heart." Hearing all these statements, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind was certainly softened, but externally he wished to speak some harsh words. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "I can understand that you all desire to take me to Cuttack to see the king." Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is naturally the reservoir of all kindness, and as soon as he heard the statement made by the king, his heart immediately softened. Thus the Lord was ready to go see the king even at Cuttack. He did not even consider allowing the king to come from Cuttack to Jagannath Puri to see him. It is significant that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind that he was ready to go see the king at Cuttack. Apparently, it was never expected that the king wanted to see the Lord at his place, but by way of being externally harsh, the Lord indicated that if all the devotees so desired, he would go to Cuttack to see the king. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, "What to speak of spiritual advancement? All the people will blaspheme me. And what to speak of all the people? Damodar will chastise me." And that brings us to the end of our auxiliary special session, special emergency session for this morning. We'll see everyone back here at 10:30. Thank you very much. Gaur Premanande, Vanchakalpadurishya, Kripasindabevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha, Nantakudi Vaishnaviniki Jai.